the question to ask yourself, are you creating content that's going to encourage people to lean in,
Right.
save, or send it?
Right. Exactly.
That's really what the three metrics are. And at the end of the day, it's really about building that trust, building that expertise, becoming that source of information for people.
Yeah.
And that's really what LinkedIn's updated their algorithm for. They want people to have strong opinions and to help people and to share that knowledge, not to gatekeep it. Hello, fellow marketers, leaders, and listeners. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Call to Action. I'm Janet Mesh, CEO of Aimtal and host of the show, and I'm very excited to be joined by my co-host, Tucker Delaney-Wen. He is the Director of Marketing Services at Aimtal. You've seen him on the other shows if you've tuned in before, and if not, we're really excited to talk all things LinkedIn today. You want to say a quick hello, Tucker?
Hello, Janet Mesh. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Really excited for this one today. Yeah.
It's been a minute since it's just been the two of us, actually. We've had our past episodes, we've had a few guests on. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, definitely do, because they're chock full of insights. We had Guy Leaf of Webflow, talking all things AEO and your website. And then Leah Ryder of Outshift by Cisco, head of marketing, and talked all things brand and how to build a brand and do a rebrand and positioning your company, products and services in a very saturated market, especially like agentic AI. So if you haven't tuned into those, definitely do, because they're exceptional marketers and thought leaders and doing some incredibly innovative work in the industry. So again, if you haven't been to part of Call to Action, in every episode, we analyze industry trends, changes, really things that are happening in the B2B marketing industry, really bring that to the forefront, helping you stay informed. And at the end of episode, we will give you one call to action. So something you can really take away. We like to, get pretty theoretical, see what's happening, what's changing, but giving you something that you can actually take today, bring it into your company, and start testing and trying out and seeing how that's going to help kind of move the needle and improve things. So in this episode in particular, we're going to talk all about LinkedIn. The B2B platform, we all know and love it. And there's been a lot of change. So we're going to talk through that and explain, how you can succeed on the platform, especially in the context of AI brand visibility. And, there's, as I mentioned, there's been a pretty big change in not just like small algorithmic changes. I would say the entire stadium is being rebuilt, and they weren't very everyone's been noticing it, right? So we're going to share what we've noticed, kind of break down this massive algorithm overhaul they did, and give you a framework of how to, really survive the shift and become, the authority on the platform and beyond.
Survive the shift, thrive in the shift. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're going to show you too, just kind of what is truly working right now, organic and paid. Really want to give you the actual tactics to go do stuff, to take action. What we've been learning about AEO, I feel like, Janet, you are becoming the AEO master, and I just want to hear you pontificate on all that. And then how just reporting and tracking, both for AI brand visibility, but also just LinkedIn performance. What does actually tracking and reporting on LinkedIn look like right now that's actually moving the needle and is just really showing success, not just with marketing, but sales and leadership as well? Let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it, Tucker. I'm down. Let's do it. Okay, let's talk first about the LinkedIn algorithm changes. I think some folks may know about this or notice changes, or they don't. So happy to share first, how it's going. So
let's talk about it first. 360 Brew, Janet. Not a new fancy coffee brand, I learned, unfortunately, because I was ready to go out and buy it. But what is it actually? Yeah.
So 360 Brew is the name of they're calling it's a single 150 billion parameter AI system that LinkedIn built and launched. And it replaces thousands of their old ranking models. So they, as I mentioned, they literally tore down the entire stadium and built a brand new one.
Yeah.
So unlike the old algorithm, they looked for keywords like, traditionally you like look for like viral engagement, like the Broetry days.
Yeah.
So uh, the biggest one of the there's a several big changes which we'll talk about, but the first biggest change is that 360 Brew, it now reads content semantically on LinkedIn,
Mm,
meaning it actually understands the context and expertise behind the words of the post of the person posting it or like on the company page.
mm,
So the primary mechanism of 360 Brews is it's involves interpreting the meaning behind the professional communication. So it's not just looking
mm.
for these like quick hit keywords or like hashtags.
Right.
It's really like they're really shifting away from being, I would say, like, traditionally, of course, like LinkedIn's like a social network, which
Yeah.
in some aspects it is, but they're really positioning it as like a brand platform, a place to like build your authority for professionals to connect and share
Mm,
that knowledge forward.
mm.
So like it's really, in addition to that, it's like it's evaluating what's being said, which is pretty new and different. It's
Yeah.
not looking for these kind of like hacks that people would do. It's really
Right.
matters of like what you're actually like sharing on LinkedIn and the content of what you're saying. So yeah, it's very interesting, Tucker, and anyone listening. You think of it as like the old and the new. So sharing on screen, if you're watching the video, kind of like the old ways marketers viewing LinkedIn as a social network, even using it as like a kind of like SEO tactic, which we'll talk about, is still actually relevant.
Mm,
But then the new way of thinking about LinkedIn is like it's a structured professional knowledge graph. And what that
mm.
means is really like it's now becoming this like primary training ground and like way to feed AI platforms,
Mm.
and AI search like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI. And what's happening and why they're doing this is like what it's requiring now is, I guess, like to please the algorithm, which you really don't, at the end of the day, I think they're really pushing people to like share content and knowledge and insights for other humans. That is,
Right.
of course, like, but then it's going to be structured in a way that is like machine readable and gets cited in answer engines. But
Mhm.
it is exciting because they're really putting up a push to people being thought leaders, sharing their own like unique point of view, and not using, like, we talk a lot at Aimtal and educator kind, like, don't use social media as this like megaphone and just blasting out a message. Like really stand in like what is you and your company like represent, what are you like helping to change. And
Right.
what's also interesting with this algorithm change is that they are taking a look at not just the content of what you're sharing on the platform, but like who you are. So they do what's called like a profile like audit simultaneously. So they look at like the verification of your expertise and if you pretty much have like validity to talk about that topic. So it's
Mm.
even more important to have like almost like that like content strategy as a brand, that really clear messaging positioning, and then how your people are talking about like your executive team, your employees, like what
Right.
does each person, like the salesperson should be talking things related to what they were talking about probably on like calls with their clients, like, or vice versa, or like the executive team should be sharing things that make sense for an executive to talk about within their level of expertise. And so 360 Brew is cross-referencing that against like your content, against like even your headline, your about section on your profile, like your work
Right.
history. And unfortunately, like if there's a mismatch, then you will get suppressed. Like you're not gonna like kind of bump up or be like prioritized as sharing that.
And that's a huge piece because I mean, sometimes it'd be hard enough to get like people, thought leaders to post on LinkedIn, let alone like they actually need to be thinking about their profile too. And what it literally says
Mm-hmm.
in their about section, you just said the headline of their profile too. And
Yeah,
it sounds like what you're
I need
saying
to
is
update mine. That's my call to
I know.
action. We're skipping
Yeah, there you
ahead, but
go.
yeah,
Update
one
your
call to action.
that's a good,
Like
I
update
like
your
the
profile.
good show call to action. Go update your profile. Pause and go update. No, but
Yeah.
yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying is like post goes out on LinkedIn, algorithms like do. Okay, let me look at this post, but then it kind of goes over and looks at the posters, the person who's posting their profile, and kind of checks the validity of, does this person seem like an expert in this? Should I be surfacing it based on their
Yeah.
background?
And then you've like, I think also it seems like that you posted frequently about that topic. Like you're not all of a sudden just like sharing things that you've never talked about before, right?
Right.
Like,
There's like a consistency element of
yeah, like that's where like topic pillars are still really important in content topics and like themes and like really owning those like narrative pillars for yourself and for your brand. If anything, it's more important than ever before.
Well, and I like what you just said too, for yourself and for your brand. Like, I think a lot of marketers are used to coming up with brand pillars for a company, but as thought leadership gets
Yeah,
more and more important, it's like you need to have pillars of what you talk about as a thought leader, so that you're
right.
signaling to LinkedIn like, hey, I am an expert in this. Um, that's
Exactly.
really interesting. Janet, I want to know too. So, okay, so I think we know that posting 5 times a day is not going to work out well, and
Don't do that.
that's not the answer. No, don't do that. Call not to action. What about metrics though, Janet? I think like a lot of marketers want to know, like, all right, so what are the actual metrics that I should be monitoring in order to show
Mhm.
performance, especially in the context of what you're saying of 360 Brew and how that's changing things on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So one of the big ones that we're seeing, as well as like just folks online and the research we've done so far. So one thing, just take a step back before I answer this question.
Yeah.
LinkedIn does not, if you Google and try to find LinkedIn sharing this information, they don't have like a whole playbook of their algorithm detailing all the mechanics behind it. Like they're pretty
Right.
cagey about it.
Yeah.
You can read some stuff that some folks have like shared publicly that work at LinkedIn. It's kind of like, they're sharing a little of the sauce, but not really. So a
Yeah.
lot of this is like folks like agencies or people like marketers like really paying attention and testing and seeing like what's working well, what's performing, what is that type of content, what are we seeing.
Mhm.
So one of them, and it's like, I think it's, I don't know, it seems like this is the biggest one, and I think they have come out that they are prioritizing dwell time. This
Mhm.
really isn't a surprise. Like we already know that social platforms, like any app or platform, wants people to stay on the platform or
Yeah.
drive as much to engagement on their own platform. Like that's the
Yep.
purpose of it. So dwell time is like how long someone spends reading your content, or
Right.
also just like saving it, coming back to it. Like if they keep going, like saving it and then opening it again, or like sharing
Mhm.
it forward. So that is a big one.
Right.
So for example, like 360 Brew interprets saving a post, or like bookmarking it as a high quality signal.
Yeah.
And in addition, like there's a especially around like comments. So like traditional engagement is like you like and comment on a post.
Right.
There's a lot there. And they're actually doing a pushback. I don't know if you've seen it, but like a lot of people have been using like AI to like comment for them on LinkedIn to try to like get engagement and
Yeah.
build their authority. They're
Yeah.
like now working again. They're suppressing that now.
Mm.
Like it needs to actually be part of, if you're engaging with someone's post, it should be something related to the post, not like great post, like thanks for that insight. It needs to
Cool
be
story,
like
Hansel.
thoughtful.
Like,
So what's interesting is like the 360 Brew algorithm in LinkedIn is kind of like turned into the strategic shift towards like thinking of creating your content as like save worthy or send worthy, and
yeah.
really that like kind of unique point of view.
Yeah.
So we did prepare like a bit of I can pull this on.
Yeah.
Prepare like a little bit of a breakdown of like kind of the old and new, so like your legacy ranking system across the core mechanism, which we just talked
Mm.
about, the primary signal. So like typically everyone would be looking for like click-through rate. So
Mhm.
using LinkedIn as a jumping off point to drive someone back to your website. That
Right.
doesn't work. Like we know this.
No.
Sometimes it works if you really have like strong authority, but like we already like this is the zero click era. Like Amanda
Yeah.
Nundevad of SparkToro coined this term years ago. We just continue to see that this is the new normal and how things are. Like you can't use LinkedIn as a megaphone. Like it's
Nope.
not a place where you're just bossing stuff out and trying to get people to like come back to your party. It's like you got to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Even
Great,
like
great way to bury a post is by putting an external link in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to. Like I still link like these episodes and stuff, and
Right.
you really want to put more up front. You don't want to bury the information. So
Mhm.
the new architectures, the primary signals around semantic meaning, dwell time, expertise, as we just talked about.
Mhm.
They're also evaluating the content against your profile, like your identity.
Right.
The reach logic. So traditionally, of course, that LinkedIn was like all about your connections and followers. It
Right.
seems like that's not as important now. It's much more around like interest based, like topical relevance. So they're going to help connect
Mm.
you to people who are interested in the same things that you're talking about or posting about.
Mm.
So that's why sometimes people are like, oh, I've never seen your post, because maybe they follow you, but they're just not really actually in the right or similar industry.
Yeah.
And the other area that's like kind of this like, how are you performing? What's like the changes in performance is in terms of content longevity, I've seen this a lot. Like I will see posts in my feed that were like from 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago, even. And that's
yeah,
because they're seeing it as like high value dialogue and performance and want more people to see it. Like the 24 or 48, some content does not last long.
right, right,
But some of it does last a long line. So that's why you were saying earlier, Tucker, like don't post like 5 times a day. Like it's really about
right.
the quality of the posts over the quantity.
Yeah, so if LinkedIn sees, hey, this post is really getting a lot of meaningful engagement, deeper level comments, lots of likes, and just kind of analyzing, like you said, the text of the post itself and signifying, oh, there's actually a lot of meaning here. There's a lot of expertise that is worth sharing
Yeah.
with a relevant audience. It's gonna might, like you said, might keep your post up for weeks, and surfacing it to people who might be interested.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I had a post recently that I was surprised that it did so well
Hmm.
organically, and it kept like getting like kind of bumped up somehow, and it was just a single image.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd actually be curious like how you're what you're seeing Tucker as like kind of I guess in the context of like the actual content. Like we do a lot of this for our clients at Aimtal. You
Hmm.
and your team are really like, you're creating all this content, you're creating these strategies
Right.
on the organic and paid side. I'm curious to see like what you guys are seeing, what we're seeing for clients is the most effective type of content.
Absolutely. I'd love to get into this, Janet, because yeah, as you said, I've doing this across a lot of clients, posting lots of different things, trying lots of different things out, and I've started to see what I'm kind of calling a 1, 2, 3 combo, 1, 2, 3 punch that is working really well on LinkedIn. So I can walk you through this a little bit. There's basically three types of posts that I'm finding are getting really leaving a mark. All right, so first one is event recaps. This is all about showing your people when you go to events or conferences, making sure that you're showing the faces of people who are there, really just getting out there and making sure that when you go to conferences, you are getting, lots of coverage, and tagging people, showing that your teammates are there, showing other competitors or prospects who are there, and making sure they really see you. The next one is showing your expertise, and this comes with document posts. This is, sometimes I call them carousels as well, but really where you can highlight your expertise by going deep on a customer pain point. And then the third one is showing your thinking, and that's with thought leader posts. So this is really that 1, 2, 3 combo that we see working well on LinkedIn. Event recaps, document posts, and thought leader posts. Put another way, show your people, show your expertise, and show your thinking. I've consistently seen across accounts that when companies do these three types of posts consistently and focused on the relevant subject matter where they're the experts, that really, really performs well. And when I say perform well, I'm not just talking about skyrocketing engagement. I'm talking about skyrocketing visibility with your target accounts. This strategy is how you create what some are calling B2B surround sound with your prospects. This is what you want. And when we've done this and helped other brands do this, I've literally had prospects and customers come to the sales team and say, you guys are everywhere on LinkedIn. You guys are killing it on LinkedIn. So this 1, 2, 3 approach really, really has worked well.
Yeah, and
And if
full
it's truly,
disclosure, what we're showing is like Aimtel produce all this content for our client Pinnacle. So we're doing this exact strategy for
yes,
one of our
exactly.
clients, and it's working, and a few others, but we're showing them.
Yeah, and
They've
Pinnacle's
been
been
very
killing the game on
successful.
this. And it's
Mhm.
obviously a partnership, and you know, companies that really get this, lean into this,
Yeah.
bring it themselves, really, really do the best. But yeah, I'd love to break down each type with you a little bit, Janet, just to hit on kind of what specifically works well and why it works well.
Mhm.
So with the event recaps, a couple things here. Multiple photos, and you talk about dwell time, right? If people are clicking through multiple photos, they're going to
Mhm.
spend more time there. And then also showing people's faces, making sure that you're getting lots of people in there. Selfies are great. And then the last thing that people really should not overlook is tagging. This is where you want to tag all your teammates who are at the event, and also tag people that you meet at the event, whether that's prospects, partners, um, current customers. But the tagging is really key, because that's going to literally surface the post right in those, not only in the people you tags feeds, but
Right.
their connections are as well are going to see, oh, hey, I know John, he got tagged in this post. So that's just a great way to amplify your reach.
I find another one that's really important on the
Yeah.
event post is like the actual content of the post as well. If it's on the brand, is like sharing like a recap of what was learned or what like the CEO,
Yes.
for example, president of the organization's featured here. It's like what are some takeaways from their talk? So it
Yes.
doesn't feel too gated either. So you're having a conversation and bringing people who weren't able to attend feel like
Yeah.
we're part of the conversation and
Yeah,
posting it
and kind of
online.
extending the conversation from the event too and bringing it
Hmm.
online.
Yeah.
That works really, really well. Yeah, and that's we talk about, people on LinkedIn itself wants to see meaningful conversations happening, and if a meaningful conversation started at an event, being able to then
Hmm.
continue that meaningful conversation on LinkedIn is huge. Yeah, and that actually leads really well into the second one, which is document post, right? So I think we've all seen these, and I think we've seen them increasingly. The key here is really going deep on expertise about a customer pain point. I think it's easy for people to create these and think like, oh, I'm going to walk through 5 features of my app or my product. That's not what this is about. This is about helping your prospects and your customers understand their industry better and help them do their jobs better. When you do that and you have really visually engaging documents with minimal text. I think the other mistake folks make is just loading way too much text on here. But when you do it in kind of a strategic, punchy way, that's what gets a lot of engagement. Again, we go back to what you said was the number one metric, Janet, on LinkedIn: dwell time. People click through these and they read them.
Mhm.
That
And they
is really what
save
helps.
them.
And they save them. Yes. Which I do want to look at too. We should look at after this. We'll look at the save, but the save mechanism is one that's increasingly coming up. I do this. I was telling you
It's
before the call,
hidden.
Janet. Yeah, I'll like
Yeah.
there's the send mechanism too. I'll send it. I send these to myself to
Yeah,
my
actually
email.
we can go there now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and we come back. But yeah,
yeah,
the save we're talking. So it's kind of hidden.
yeah.
I so when you go on either desktop or mobile on LinkedIn, you just click the ellipsis. That's the 3 dots in the top right of the post. And then from there, the save button shows up. So that's
Yes,
where I have it
and
highlighted here in the top right. Or you can also, but in the post too at the bottom, you can like share it. So
yes,
I'm curious to see like how shares versus saves will. It's kind of like Instagram a little bit. Like they're a little bit adopting the Instagram model. Like that's
yeah,
Instagram changed to that they want people to share and send more as like a
right.
signal of interest and engagement. So the share, I feel like the share contributes too, but like specifically the save is one that they're seeing like people are interested in this, they want to come back to it, they're spending more time learning about this topic that you're sharing
And I'm
with
so
everyone.
glad you bring this up because I still think a lot of people are in the condition of like, oh, like, comment, share as like the 3 things to look for. And this one is different. Save is the thing
Save
that like
and
people are
send.
save and send, right? Those are actually
Yeah.
maybe the 2 metrics, not like, comment, share, but save and send.
Hmm.
That's really a signifier that people
Right.
really are finding meaning in your post, are coming back to it, and are just engaging with it and finding
Yeah.
value in it.
I feel like it's like if you think about it, someone scrolling through LinkedIn between meetings and
Yeah.
then they see a post that you shared or your brand posted
Yeah.
and they're like, oh wow, this is really interesting, I want to save this to reference later, and or I'm going to send this to my boss or send this to my team right away.
Yeah.
Like we do that, we'll send posts like on Slack being like, hey, check this post out, this is like exactly what we were
Yeah.
just talking about, or where we want to be like focusing, or this is a
I'll
really
be
cool
like a
idea.
Saturday afternoon on the couch, finally put my kid down for a nap, like maybe look at LinkedIn for a couple minutes, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I don't really have energy to like, I'm engaged with it.
Exactly.
I don't have anything to do with it right now, but I'm going to send it to myself. So on Monday, I'll like tell my team about it, So yeah,
Yep.
the save and the send is
That's
huge.
hilarious too. I wonder, we'll have to see like, yeah, I'm curious like even sending to yourself.
Yeah, I know.
But
I
it
feel
all
like,
contributes to it, right? Like it doesn't
oh
matter.
yeah,
It's
I
just,
think because there's the send mechanism. So I think they can tell like, oh,
yeah.
that's,
Yeah. So that's what I was saying earlier too. Like that this is the big like the dwell time in the like in the context of people wanting to like come back to the information and keep
yeah,
engaging and learning about this is
yeah,
really the new like 360 brew like upgrades that they made to the algorithm. And it all
totally.
comes back to expertise, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Um,
So speaking of expertise, the final one, just to like come back to the like the 3 types of posts that we're
yeah,
seeing are the most effective. I think this
Number
is probably the one that people are aware of the most is in terms of the thought leadership
Yeah, so
style
thought
content.
leaders. I think by now people know that thought leader posts should be getting done and they know they should be happening, but I'll call out a few things here. The biggest thing that I still think people either grasp but they haven't quite got as yet is that with thought leader posts, they really need to come from the individual thought leader's LinkedIn account. It should not come from the company page account. And I can just say that, like, from my own data of running LinkedIn ads, when I boost thought leader posts as thought leader ads, even when we run ads and even when we tell LinkedIn ads to rotate ads evenly between a brand post and a thought leader post gets hundreds of thousands more impressions than a brand post. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the reach that a brand ad will get if they're in the same ad set. So I think it's undeniable that posts from individual accounts are just getting way more reach than posts from company accounts. And if
And it makes
you're
sense because they
yeah,
upgraded the algorithm to prioritize people and expertise more so than anything.
there you go. LinkedIn literally updated the algorithm so that, and I think the takeaway here is if you're still relying on a company page to showcase all your expertise and showcase your brand, you're losing out to your competitors who are also
Yeah.
using their thought leaders to post from their individual accounts. So that has to be part of company strategies today. And the ones that I see that are doing that are just getting way more success, way more engagement, and ultimately getting way more visibility with their target accounts too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to double click into one thing you said earlier around like you need to drive meaningful conversation.
Mm.
How are you saying, what does that mean? And like, what does that look like? Is it really only just like sharing your own content? Like we did say like comments, maybe I don't want to confuse people because comments are still important, but
That's
I'm curious
true.
your perspective on that of
Yeah, I
how
was
you're
gonna go
seeing
back to
what's most
comments
effective.
too. Yeah, like, okay, so I think there's a couple things about comments. First of all, you and I both post a lot on LinkedIn, Janet. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I've had situations where I've done a comment and it gets more impressions
Yeah,
than
me
an
too.
actual post that I do.
Yeah.
So that right there is one thing. Secondly, I know
But it
too
needs to be
that
comments from a person. I think people really want the brand. There was like traditionally, it was like, oh, we
yes,
want all these brands talking to each other, like the McDonald's and Wendy's of the world. And it's like, no, it's about the
no, no, no,
people in
no.
your company talking to other people on in your industry online.
Yes, and this is often where I advise thought leaders of how to get started. If they're a little unsure of how to get started, if they don't quite know what they want to post about, I'll say just start commenting. Start following people that you really admire, start
Mm-hmm.
following your customers and prospects, and start leaving a meaningful comment on their posts. Now, what do we mean by meaningful? Back to your original question. From a quantifiable standpoint, at least 10 to 15 words. So not just like you said, Janet, not just the
Great
like,
post.
awesome, love it, great
Awesome
post.
insight.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. You got to either be adding something, maybe even disagreeing, or maybe even sharing your personal experience about, what's working, what's not, what you see, your own personal perspective or opinion on this. That's what we mean by meaningful conversation. So you kind of just got to get in there,
Right.
open up and start sharing. And when posts start to get multiple people sharing their perspectives, sharing what truly works, what doesn't work, that's when the engagement really rises up. And that's when the post gets surfaced way, way more. So I always advise thought leaders also, if someone's commenting on your post and sharing a meaningful comment, that's a gold mine. But even more is if you comment back with a meaningful
Right.
response, that's
Right.
really going to skyrocket things. So I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think the comments are really key. I don't know if what your experience has been, Jana, with comments, but
No,
I
it's
think,
actually true that I find I'm not as good at both the commenting. You're definitely better, but I have what you just said has been true for me. That sometimes
yeah,
my comment on a post gets more impressions
yeah,
than an engagement than my own post.
right. And it makes sense given what we've been talking about and how the
Yeah,
algorithm's working, that they're prioritizing meaningful exchanges
exactly.
on LinkedIn. So if
Exactly.
it's great comments, great, then awesome.
Yeah.
To kind of bring us forward, we've talked about comments, but we should also talk about like the format, I think. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about like the format of the content of the post and hear your thoughts on that too.
So in terms of like the anatomy of content, so this kind of feeds into the next big thing of the changes with the 360 brew algorithm on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's now like the largest they're calling it the structured professional knowledge graph.
Mm.
And so they pretty much just like opened up LinkedIn. Usually before, like it was like all like kind of, it was gated content. Now it's not. Like if you go Google search something, you're gonna see LinkedIn as like a primary like source of
Mm.
information, and like to click through to, and it's even like people's posts, articles on the platform, even like LinkedIn newsletters. So SEMrush did like a pretty deep dive analysis of all of this. So I'd highly recommend checking out. We'll link in the show notes. So this kind of they wrote down this anatomy of LinkedIn content that's getting cited by AI search. So that's the biggest change too, is that search is now happening on AI platforms like Google
Mm.
AI, Gemini,
Mhm.
ChatGPT, Perplexity. People aren't using their traditional ways of finding information. They're going to AI first.
Right.
So LinkedIn really is like the place is where to invest to start to get cited and mentioned based on the things that we were just sharing, but thinking in the context again of like your credibility as an author, as an expert in your field, the intent of the content, is it original content is important too.
Mhm.
Like you're having like you're just saying, Tucker, like you have a very unique perspective.
Mhm.
You're not just agreeing with what everyone's saying. The
Right.
length is important, and the structure of it too. So on LinkedIn posts, you can't structure it as well, but I think this is where like we're gonna see an increase in like LinkedIn articles as well as like newsletters and like that
Yeah.
longer form content on the platform. Like they're clearly pushing and want people to like invest in and creating more long form content on the platform. I almost like see it as like LinkedIn kind of trying to be Substack in some
Yeah.
capacity,
The B2B
which isn't the worst
Substack.
thing. Yeah,
No.
exactly. But it's
Mhm.
it's great because you really can like just Google certain things and you'll start to see that like LinkedIn is the source and the citation for that information.
Right. Right.
And in that same report, so we can go through this one. So in terms of the AI platform, so the top domains cited, since they opened this up, they did this report analysis in January of this year, and I've
Right.
only seen it like kind of increasing. So I think they made the changes with the algorithm like end of last year into 2026.
Right.
So, but right here, it's number one's Reddit, and then the second one is LinkedIn. And then Wikipedia, then YouTube. YouTube used to be like number two.
Yeah.
It's like super high. It's pretty incredible actually. And then think of Reddit. Reddit is a very conversational, review based
Right.
platform. So like
Human centric, like, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like those references are like we've been noticing this trend for years. It's not like it's
Yeah.
a brand new thing.
No.
If folks have been kind of investing in these areas and like really modernizing their content strategy and their website and bringing people along, then hopefully you're not too shocked by this, I guess. But if you are, I'm like, invest in LinkedIn. Like it's really gonna benefit you.
And I feel like I was a little shocked at this when I saw this, but just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, what we're saying here is that in terms of the places that the AI engines go, where ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI, the number two source site that they pull information from overall is LinkedIn. That's what this
Yeah,
says, right? Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
pretty wild to me
It is
because I think
wild. Yeah.
people are still thinking about, obviously there is still importance in posting on your own website,
Oh,
but also
definitely.
like,
No,
where do I
absolutely.
go? What do I post on? And it's like LinkedIn is the number two place where all these AI
Yeah.
are pulling from overall. That's
I think when you're thinking of
yeah,
creating content for your own website, you have to simultaneously think of what is the variation of this content and story for
mm,
LinkedIn.
right,
Don't just think of everything going on page on your website. It has to
right,
be like a multi-channel approach, an integrated approach. Like this is like
yeah,
a big thing of Aimtal we've been doing for clients for years. So our clients are not behind. They're very far ahead of this because they're already doing all this.
right,
But they're very much like you're thinking, and then what we've been talking about, it's not just about the brand. Think of your content pillars, your narrative, what you're talking about online, and what
right,
your like solutions are, like via your product and service, but really like the like educational side of it, and
yeah,
thinking put that in the context of the people because you're only going to amplify the message more if it's you're only relying on the brand
right,
page. That's all you're going to kind of get out of it. But if you have more
finished.
folks like you're just talking about, Tucker, like the president, the executive team,
Yeah,
all contributing and sharing thoughts online, it's just
right,
going to increase the chances of getting cited. And yeah, in the same report from SEMrush, the citation rate, it's really high for Google. So it's
Mm,
like 14%.
right.
ChatGPT is like 13 and Perplexity is pretty low at 5, but still it's really strong. Google's really the one that it's been pulling using like LinkedIn as like a primary database for all this
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Amazing to
Yeah,
hear.
and then and you were kind of like, what's the content? So just to kind of like validate what we're seeing on the client side,
Yeah.
um, the LinkedIn content types they found that are like most frequently cited are long form articles. So I was just saying that like you
Right.
need to be sharing more in-depth information and like points of view. It's not just like I mean, posts are actually still like up there.
Hmm.
Actually,
Hmm.
ChatGPT seems to pull that more than anything. They call it. I don't really know what an advice page is. I would assume it's some sort of article as well.
Yeah.
The company page, and then there's like other. I've
Right.
been seeing too that like the newsletter feature, like LinkedIn newsletters, are getting cited as
Yeah.
well on Google.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're kind of treating long form articles and newsletters in a similar way. The other
Right.
wild thing I've noticed is that the images that you embed in like articles or in newsletters,
Mm.
naming them with like certain keywords is important too. Which is
Oh, wow. I mean, and I think we'll talk about this too, but it feels like a lot of SEO principles too, like
yes,
alt text,
exactly.
title tags, metadata, and making
Yep.
sure you're applying that in certain ways to LinkedIn and LinkedIn long form
And
content.
yeah, and to that point, like the length. So like this is like wild. I was like, this is really cool to see.
Mm,
Like the content length distribution of like the LinkedIn article specifically should be 502,000 words. That's like more than a blog article. That's like a blog
mm,
article.
mm.
Pretty significant amount of content.
Right.
Obviously, like I don't think you can even do that on a post. Like I think a post
Right.
limits you to certain like maybe 1,000,
Yeah.
or like 800.
Hmm.
But yeah, so exactly like this is still the kind of the mechanics are all similar of your traditional SEO
Right.
um,
Right.
play. Like it's really, I mean, at the end of the day, like traditional SEO focuses on like ranking for
Mm.
keywords, like in a list of links and getting backlinks, but
Yeah.
the structure of of SEO and like on-page SEO on your website and those mechanics, AEO answer engine optimization is an expansion of that. It's really,
Mm.
but it's more focused on providing that direct answer and
Right.
then building the consensus of that across. So that's why you always have to take a multi-channel approach because
Right.
it's SEO really just focused on an inbound, really just focused driving everyone to your website. Now it's really
Right.
like flipped it on its head where it's like you need to think of your brand across the entire internet, your people across the internet, because AI looks for all that information, can do it very fast, and builds that consensus and understanding of your expertise or your company's expertise. It's running on the same, but it's running on the same signals and infrastructure of SEO, like authority and backlinks, keyword intent, organic, like visibility, but it's just kind of like blowing it out if anything, like it's just expanded out and why you need to be in more places now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was almost like with SEO, you were focusing on certain keywords, trying to like embed them in your post as much as possible. But what I hear you saying too is
Yeah,
like now with AEO, it's much more about giving an answer that semantically makes sense, especially because like
yeah,
AI is it's not gonna like just lift and copy and paste necessarily what you write every
right.
time. It's more
Well,
gonna like
sometimes it does. It does in
sometimes
a
it does,
way,
which is great.
but
But
yeah, but it will also like kind of create a unique way of talking about it based on what
yeah.
you
So
feel.
if it
The
sees you
keywords
as
are
the
still
authority,
important. The keywords
right.
are still important, but they're not like that exact way you like you said. Like it's not like the exact thing you wrote will be the exact. It's like you have to kind of talk about it in a range of ways.
Yeah, to show your
Like
true expertise and that like
mhm,
you really know what you're talking about.
exactly.
You can speak to it clearly and
Yeah,
simply in
like
a number of
you
ways.
exactly. You still need the high quality, trusted data
Yep.
underneath to be like visible with AI engines and humans ultimately. Like you're not, but again, it's just like you're not just thinking of your website. The website's still really important. It's a ton of data. It's your true like authority.
Right.
But again, you have to look across the whole internet. And LinkedIn is a great place to invest. Like we always talk about YouTube as a good place, but I think LinkedIn's a little bit of a lower barrier of entry of getting content out there, written content,
Yep.
images. Like you said, like the carousels work really well. Some like short form video,
Yeah.
people or just commenting. Like it
Right.
doesn't take like it's not going to be that much time and resources just to start commenting and sharing
100%.
your opinion
100%.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
so it's
free.
pretty wild. I'm excited. I'm really excited
Yeah,
about it, actually. I think it's
me
just
too.
starting to really level the playing field for people. So I would love to hear a little bit before we're kind of coming at the final, like rounding out the hour of this
Mhm.
episode, all about LinkedIn, the changes of the algorithm, what we're seeing, what we know other people are seeing, how our clients are having success. So I think a big part of this is like, okay, cool. Like this is a lot of change.
Yeah.
Uh, People don't love change, but also it can be feel like a lot to keep up with, and especially when you're, having to report this,
Right.
the success of what you're investing in. If you're telling, if someone, a marketer is telling me like their, leadership team, like, hey, we need to invest more in LinkedIn and we need to do
Right.
ads and all this, like, why? I think we were kind of explaining the why, but like, let's talk about like, how do we do this? Like, how are we currently? I love for you to talk us through, Tucker. Like, how are we currently thinking about and approaching this with clients?
Yeah.
And you already said we are doing like running organic content, but also doing a lot of like paid
Mhm.
advertising. So
Right.
let's talk about how you and the team and how at Aimtal we're doing this for clients.
Yeah, and I'll zoom in on really how can you report on this? And I think what you report on reflects what you value and what you want your company to pay attention to. So I'll start with a quick win, which is looking at the company reporting in LinkedIn ads. So just to get, very tactical here, all my people in LinkedIn Ads Manager, you may already know, but you go into the Campaign Manager. On the left side of your menu, there's a little button that says Plan. That'll give you a drop down, and then you click Companies. And that's going to show you all the companies who are engaging with your content. And what's cool, as we can see here, is it's going to show you engagement level. It shows you not just paid impressions, and if I had the whole window open, you could scroll over to clicks and paid clicks, but also shows you organic too. So you get a really nice snapshot of how the top companies you're going after are engaging with you organically and from a paid perspective. To me, this is a gold mine of info because it tells the real story of how accounts are engaging with you, even if they're not clicking, even if they're not converting. You're showing them how much you're showing up in front of them, and how they might be engaging with you in ways that might not be immediately apparent. So as we shift to kind of, I really think of it as like kind of an ABM model. And I know some people are like, ABM means specific one-to-one sequences. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. What I think the shift that's happening is the companies that are being successful are going after target accounts on LinkedIn. They're going after the same companies that the sales team is going after. They're saying, let's upload that list, let's go after those companies, and let's drive engagement and get signal. So when I step back and think about, well, how do you show that on one slide? How do you show to leadership and sales when you have 5 minutes to show them the impact of marketing that you've been doing for the last 6 months? Here's kind of how we do this, as you know, Janet. So fake example here, but we pulled up the National Hockey League, right? And I will say this is an actual way that we do show this, and we show LinkedIn success. But what we want to do here is show the marketing touch points that nurtured customers down the funnel. If we look at LinkedIn specifically, what have we talked about today? Doing document posts, doing thought leader posts. That's what we've got here, right? A thought leader post from you, Janet. A great document carousel from Aimtal's brand page. And then just showing, hey, what are the most popular of our posts? Which of our posts are getting the most engagement? And then showing those actual engagement numbers and saying, by the way, sales team, by the way, leadership, did you know the NHL has engaged with us organically over 8,000 times? When we draw connections to the sales team, hey, I know that this deal closed recently. Did you know in the last 3 months, they actually liked our LinkedIn post from our company leaders more than 25 times? That's real impact. And that is actually showing them like, hey, as they're engaging with you in person or in meetings, they're also seeing us on LinkedIn. And I can say too, a really good thing here is you don't want to just get up here and show the facts and then just be like, and this is what we're doing. This is a time to ask two key questions to your sales team and your leadership team. You can say, hey, are you finding when you hop on a call with these folks, do they already know who we are when they get on the call? And if they do, that's a huge win. We've had, as you know, Janet, we've had where we do LinkedIn campaigns for companies. When those companies hop on sales meetings, their prospects have hopped on the call and said, oh, I've seen you guys everywhere on LinkedIn. Oh, you guys are all over LinkedIn. That is a huge win. And that's not something that's just going to show up automatically in your attribution model, but that is a humongous signal that shows that you have cleared months of getting these people really engaged, being really visible, and really saturating them with your presence, which cannot be underscored. So I just want to highlight that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
That's
pause for a
incredible.
moment here, Janet, but any thoughts on this, or I don't know, your own experience of kind of showing
No, I
how
think
we,
like this is I think this is kind of like the hard part of the reporting, and like this is like how engaged marketing and how connected marketing sales needs to be, and
yeah,
just bringing like it's really marketing's job to help tell the story, to
yes,
identify these signals. Don't just look at the numbers, like you're saying, like look at the who, like who's actually engaged. Like
mhm,
spend the extra time to really like dig into that and be like, okay, we're seeing that these people from these target accounts are actively seeing this content. They're clearly like engaged with like what we're talking about. It
yep,
gives the sales team stuff that they can talk about, more, fodder for other types of campaigns and content we're sharing. So
mhm,
I would think that this is like the level that, like, to a certain extent, it can be reporting, like the reporting can be automated, but it's not 100%. Like, really take that extra time to
yep,
identify these kind of like golden nuggets of like the who, really. I think we talk about this a lot, and it's
yeah,
really what makes people pay attention when we're like helping. Like, we a lot of what we do is we help clients like prepare this information to then share internally. And
right.
whenever we come to the who and we talk about how it's influencing and impacting that conversation with that stakeholder and or the company that they're trying to target, that's what always gets the like impact and like interest and excitement from the organization.
I can confidently tell you that, like, in meetings with sales teams, in meetings with C-suite leaders, when you start talking about the who and you show what we're doing here, the actual people from the prospect company that you are trying to target, when you literally show them and say, hey, they liked this post, they engaged with it, that's what gets the, oh, wait, what? That's what gets people to lean in and actually really pay attention and feel value. And to your point, Janet, again, that's not necessarily something that's just going to show up on an attribution model. You need to tell that story and put it in a way that they will really care about. And that really is what makes a huge difference in reporting.
Yeah. I like that. You just said like lean in. So
Yeah.
I feel like the question to ask yourself, are you creating content that's going to encourage people to lean in,
Right.
save, or send it?
Right. Exactly.
That's really
Exactly.
what the three like metrics are. Get them to
Yep.
lean in, pay attention,
Right.
save it to read again and interpret and digest
Mhm.
more, or share it forward with other people in the organization. And at the end of the day, it's really like about building that trust, building that expertise, becoming that source of information for
Yep.
people. There's a lot of information. So if you can curate it and make it easy for people to understand like what the value is, how you're going to help them, then that's really what we're going for. And that's really what LinkedIn's updated their algorithm for. Like, they want people to have strong opinions and to help people and to share that knowledge, not to gatekeep it. Well, thank you, Tiger, for sharing all that kind of behind the scenes of how we're doing this for clients, helping them grow, their LinkedIn visibility, their brand, as well as
Mhm.
their people.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think we're seeing and learning a lot, and we continue to. So that's really the purpose of Call to Action: to help you, fellow marketers, and those that are interested in these things to just stay ahead of the trends and give you something that you can really take away, and put into action and start testing out yourself. So with that, Tucker, I'd love to, as we do, what's your one call to action to our audience today for this episode?
Yeah, I think folks who are running LinkedIn ads, go take a look in that company tab that I mentioned earlier
Mm-hmm.
and see what you learn, and see what you can bring into your next report just about how people are engaging from a company level. Go check this out. It's really interesting, and it might really tell a deeper story about the ways that your marketing is actually working and nurturing accounts that might not show up in your normal reporting. So go look at that company tab. What about you, Janet? What's your call to action?
I'm gonna go with, because they have such an put such an emphasis on the importance of your expertise and credibility as a whatever you are in your industry. So as a marketer
Mm,
or salesperson, whatever your role is, like go and analyze and analyze your profile,
mm,
Google your name, and then
mhm,
analyze if like AI is pulling your about. Like, I did it for myself. I'm like, this is not actually my expertise 100%.
mm.
So go and like Google yourself, see how you're showing up on like AI search engines, and then go and update your LinkedIn profile, like your bio, your headline, even like adding in more context of like your past jobs, what you did. All of that is like really important. So I would say start there and then start posting and start sharing that expertise consistently.
I'm gonna like actually do that right after
I
this
know I'm
call.
actually gonna go do. I literally have it on my to do. Like it's on my to do list. Like
Yeah,
it's here.
I wrote it
It's
down
like
too. Okay. Yeah.
so we can hold each other accountable. So let us know when you know people can update your profile. So awesome.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, Tucker, for sharing all the knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you
Super
for that.
interesting to just the B2B platform, LinkedIn, a lot of change coming. We're staying on top of it. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you, our listeners, our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Call to Action. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You gotta engage. You gotta share forward what you're seeing. If you disagree with something, like Tucker said earlier in the episode, like we'd love to hear that too. Like we want to be challenged and learn from others. So let us know in the comments. Looking forward to learning what you're learning. And yeah, definitely subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're staying on top of these. And this is actually episode number 15. So kudos to us, Tucker.
Kudos. Yeah.
and to Jesse, our video editor, who's bringing us through the whole time too.
Dude.
Yes, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Call to Action, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.